Hello and welcome to Patch Math, where today we are going to patch your math knowledge on linear function word problem. Let's get started. So anytime we are going to write a linear function, we need to identify the independent variable, x, and our dependent variable, y. In this case, our x stands for the number of gallons of gas. And if we input the number of gallons of gas and multiply it by the cost per gallon and then add that car wash in there, that is going to give us the total cost. Now that we have our x and y defined, we can go ahead and write y equals mx plus b because we know our slope, all right, in this case m, is going to be equal to our cost per gallon of gas. In this case, our cost per gallon of gas is $2.35. Then we want our B. That is also a good way of saying base rate. All right, your base rate. What you have to pay, that's not going to change per thing. In this case, you're not going to buy two back-to-back car washes in the same day, but there is a base rate here of the cost for our car wash. And so in this case, our B is equal to $6. We leave our Y open. We plug in our slope. We're going to drop the money signs for now. Go ahead and write that X open. Because we want this function to be useful for however many gallons of gas we decide to buy, and then add that base rate on there because they do want that car wash. And there is the proper y equals mx plus b form for part A. That is the solution to part A. Now part B asks us to find the missing value. In this scenario, it's asking us how many gallons of gas we can buy if we have $40 in our pocket. Now they are fixing your dependent variable here in this case. And that can confuse some people because when you're first taught to learn this, you choose random x's, plug in to find the y's that go with them, and then you graph your line. But we can work backwards. We can. In this case, we have our situation for B where our cost needs to be $40. So y equals cost there. Y equals cost. And then the rest will stay the same because we're trying to find the number of gallons of gas. Find the number of gallons of gas you can afford for $40. Once you have this, you will see we have a two-step equation. We can solve for x by doing opposite operation on both sides of the equal sign. And because we're doing the opposite operation, how they're given, we use opposite PEMDAS to guide us. So that means we are going to undo addition and subtraction first. And so we subtract 6 from each side. What you do to one side of an equation, you must do the exact same thing to the other in order to retain the equality, or excuse me, in order to retain the original value of the equation. In this case, 40 minus 6 is 34. And that is set equal to, that is set equal to 2. There's a decimal point there. It is hard to see on Zoom whiteboards due to the dots. We only have one more operation to undo. When you have a number sitting beside a variable like that, they are being multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division. So in order to get the x by itself, we are going to divide 2.35 off from each side. Now, I would do this in my calculator if you are allowed to calculator. If not, this is decimal division skills here. So in this case, 34 divided by 2.35 is not a pretty number. I'll go ahead and paste it here. Now that looks like a never-ending, non-repeating number, but it actually does repeat. You can look at this as a fraction if you wanted to. Um, but in this case, we are dealing with a real-world problem. So we know x is approximately, this is rounded. Please beware, this is rounded. X is approximately equal to this. Now, in order to interpret this question correctly, we need to go back up and remind ourselves what x is equal to. In this case, x is equal to the number of gallons of gas. Lucky for us, we can have a partial gallon of gas. And so I would just round this based on whatever your teacher says to do. If you want to write it precise as a fraction, because honestly, precision is best. It's harder to see how many gallons we have in an improper fraction form. So this is actually a decimal that repeats at some point because, or ends, because we're able to write it as a fraction. And there we go. There are what would be the two commonly acceptable forms, but we are going to want to write our answer in the form of a sentence. And there you go. We can afford approximately 14.468 gallons of gas. Answering part B. Your math knowledge has just been patched on finding linear functions to represent real world problems and then using that function to find unknowns about the real world situation. Thank you so much for your time.